Hey everybody, we're going to do day 8, which is January 8th, and in the 1 year chronological Bible. And today is going to be talking about a series of genealogies that tracks the descendants of Abraham through Hagar and Keturah. But the descendants through Sarah, Isaac, and his son Jacob take center stage as the ancestors of the Israelites. Although the Lord had promised Abraham the land of Canaan, where he relocated to in faith, Abraham never owned any part of the land except Sarah's burial plot. It was a down payment on the fulfillment of God's promise of the land of Canaan. The Israelites' later liberation from Egypt is rooted in their genealogy, their connection to Abraham, and in God's promise of the land of Canaan to Abraham. Throughout the Bible, genealogies connect the past, Eve's promised seed, who will crush the serpent's head, through the family of Abraham to the future fulfillment of the promise in Christ. The genealogies are recorded so that God's people would see his work in the past, his purpose in the present, and his promises for the future. So there's another good reason for us to read all those names and to muscle through it. So, again, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm probably pronouncing a lot of them way wrong, but we do the best we can and we go on. So we're starting out in Genesis 23, verse 1. Abraham married another wife whose name was Keturah. She gave birth to Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. Dedan's descendants were the Asherites, Letushites, and Laomites. Midian's sons were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldaah. These were all descendants of Abraham through Keturah. 1 Chronicles 1, 32 through 33. The sons of Keturah, Abraham's concubine, were Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. The sons of Jokshan were Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldaah. All these were descendants of Abraham through his concubine Keturah. Genesis 25, verses 5 and 6. Abraham gave everything he owned to his son Isaac, but before he died, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them off to a land in the east, away from Isaac. Ishmael's descendants, Genesis 25, 12 through 18. This is the account of the family of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, through Hagar, Sarah's Egyptian servant. Here is a list by their names and clans of Ishmael's descendants. The oldest was Nebaioth, followed by Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These 12 sons of Ishmael became the founders of 12 tribes named after them, listed according to the places they settled and camped. Ishmael lived for 137 years, then he breathed his last and joined his ancestors in death. Ishmael's descendants occupied the region from Havilah to Shur, which is east of Egypt, in the direction of Ashur. There they lived in open hostility toward all their relatives. 1 Chronicles 1, 28 through 31. So what I'm seeing is those chapters in Chronicles that we've all been dreading are getting broken up and put into the text as we come to them, which is awesome. The sons of Abraham were Isaac and Ishmael. These are their genealogical records. The sons of Ishmael were Nebaioth, the oldest, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These were the sons of Ishmael. Isaac's descendants, from 1 Chronicles 1, 34. Abraham was the father of Isaac. The sons of Isaac were Esau and Israel. The births of Jacob and Esau, from Genesis 25, 19 through 26. And this happened about 2006 or 1840 BC. This is the account of the family of Isaac, the son of Abraham. When Isaac was 40 years old, he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean, from Paddan Aram, and the sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was unable to have children. The Lord answered Isaac's prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins. But the two children struggled with each other in her womb. So she went to ask the Lord about it. "Why is this happening to me?" she asked. And the Lord told her, "The sons in your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and your older son will serve your younger son." And when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she did indeed have twins. The first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat, so they named him Esau. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. The death of Abraham, Genesis 25, 7 through 11, happened about 1991 or 1825 BC. When Esau and Jacob were about 15 years old, their grandfather Abraham died. So Abraham lived for 175 years, and he died at a ripe old age, having lived a long and satisfying life. He breathed his last and joined his ancestors in death. His sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar, the Hittite. This was the field Abraham had purchased from the Hittites, and where he had buried his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who settled near Bir Lahai Roi in the Negev. So sometimes these daily discovery questions are kind of interesting. Why does Abraham send his other sons away and give all his possessions to Isaac? I believe it was because Isaac was the promised son, and God told him that Isaac was to be the one to inherit the promises. So, what does God teach Isaac about prayer through Rebekah's barrenness? And where else has barrenness shown up in the story so far? So, yeah, Sarah was barren first, and then Rebekah. And God taught Isaac that when he prayed, that he answered his prayers, right? Hopefully, y'all have learned this. I know I learned this right after salvation at a very young age when I was 9 years old, just barely 9. Because I remember not quite being old enough, but like 2 days short, and they let me go to Falls Creek to church camp anyway. And church camp was where I went down and got saved. And so I know that it was that summer that I turned 9 in July. And so anyway, right after that, in that same summer, God answered a prayer that was just amazing, and has, he let me know, and I hope he's let you know in some way that he's there and that he's listening to you, because he is there and he is listening to you. How many years does Isaac wait until God gives him children as promised? I think he was like 40, wasn't he, when him and Rebecca got married? And it said that he was 60 when the children were born, so he waited 20 years. And where else have we seen a time gap between God's promise and the fulfillment of his promise? We saw that in Abraham and Sarah also. And what is the significance of the passing of God's blessing to Isaac? The promise that was, even, it started with Eve, that her child would crush the head of the serpent. And so this promise that started all the way back with Eve was for a specific line. It was, and so we're seeing the story of this specific line. And we're seeing the devil try to kill him and to do away with it before it comes about. And so it's interesting to follow this. So thanks for joining